Peace and all good things. You know, during this month of May, we have so many things that we celebrate: graduations, Mother's Day, the coming of spring. In our church, we have much to celebrate. We'll be celebrating this month of Mary, having a special devotion to Our Lady this month. And we also celebrate the Holy Spirit during the month of May. Normally, during the month of May, we celebrate the whole great feast of Pentecost, where we celebrate the Holy Spirit coming down upon the apostles, which really is the birthday of the church. And really, St. Paul speaks a lot about the Holy Spirit. Certainly, Luke does in the Acts of the Apostles, and St. Paul also does in his writings. And he really speaks about one of the, I think, most beautiful writings about the Holy Spirit is about the fruits of the Holy Spirit that comes from St. Paul's letter to the Galatians, where St. Paul really says that if we are filled with the Holy Spirit, it's not only going to be some abstract, look at me, I have the Holy Spirit within me, I live according to the Spirit, but this is actually going to be lived out in the way that we live our lives, the way that we relate to other people. And our whole lives will be transformed, and we'll be able to show these various fruits. And St. Paul enumerates some of these: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. So for the next few weeks, really in this month of May, I wanted to just enumerate a few of these fruits of the Holy Spirit, and perhaps speak a little bit about how some of these fruits of the Holy Spirit were found in the lives of some of the Franciscan saints, and then how we can in turn live them out in our own lives. I think that the first and probably first and foremost is that of love. And I think that for me, St. Francis is a wonderful example of what it means to have this agape love. This word love is so oftentimes thrown around in our culture, and certainly in song and music, in writing, we see it and hear it all the time. And yet, I think that in the example of Christ, we have this self-giving love. That love is not only what can you give me, or I love, something because it's pleasing to me, yet it's this self-giving love. To love freely, without condition, without the expectation of someone repaying you, but really giving up, even to the point of suffering, and as Christ did, to die on the cross, because we are worth it, because we are loved. And that's really an example for us of what it means to love. And St. Francis, I think, really lived this in his life. That really, he tried to love each and every person in that really self-giving way. He wanted to give and pour out his heart. He wanted to pour out his life at the service of others, and loved God so much that he really wanted to give everything, this poverty, and to live that gospel in a very radical way. And we see this, for example, in St. Francis receiving the sacred stigmata, those wounds of Christ on Mount Laverna, in which represent that St. Francis really lived this life of love, this self-giving love, so perfectly in his life that he conformed himself to that of Christ crucified. So how are we doing with our love in our lives? There's that famous song, they'll know we are Christians by our love. This is a fruit. We oftentimes only think about ourselves, that we love things because it's useful to us, because it's pleasing to us. And yet they'll know we are Christians by our love. They'll know, the world will know that we are Christian based on the way that we can have this self-giving, selfless love, and even to the point of suffering for others, because that is who we are. Because Christ has loved us, and we are called to love both God and neighbor as ourselves. So let us live as Jesus as St. Francis, and live with this fruit of the Holy Spirit, calling us to live a selfless love for the world. Hope that you have a wonderful day. God bless you.